Good evening. Welcome to SEC Basketball Reaction at Southeastern 16. I'm your host, Chris Lee, joined by Blake Lovell. The SEC sends a second team on the day to the round of 16. That's the Auburn Tigers, winners over Creighton by an 82-70 score. Auburn found itself in a close game, but was able to pull away late. I think it was, a 2-point game at half, Blake? Yeah, congratulations to Bruce Pearl and the Auburn Tigers. Let's get your first reaction on what you saw.
Well, if you were with us, not a lot of you were, in the Texas A&M reaction stream we did against Michigan. I was specifically asked by some Auburn fans to put the Southeastern 16 kiss of death on Creighton, and so I made it clear that I thought Creighton was going to hit all 11 of their three-point shots in the second half after a 9-of-14 start. Well, they finished 12-of-27, Chris, so we did our job. They went 3-of-13 in the second half from three, so we got that turned in the right direction there, and that helped out, I think, a little bit because they were red hot in the first half, making anything and everything. And, that was what we said coming into this game. I think when Max and I did the preview yesterday or whatever day it was, one of the things we talked about was, hey, this team doesn't shoot it as well percentage-wise as most of Greg McDermott's teams have there. But we're like, look at the recent results. Like, they've been shooting it okay. And so that was the one thing that if they were going to win this game, they came in kind of, middle of the pack, 34% three-point shooting team. But we said if they were to find their groove, which is what they did against Louisville, they went 11-of-24, shot 46% in that game. And you're thinking the way this thing starts, you're just like, oh boy, it's exactly the recipe for an upset when it comes like that. So I think that was big in the second half. Obviously, didn't make as many of those. Auburn a little bit more keyed in, I thought, defensively. And, I mean, we always laugh because, Max and I have the exchange, like, whose game is it going to be? And with this Auburn team, there's always been lots of options to work with. And it's like, well, I think I may have said Denver Jones. I don't remember who Max said, but, like, the one guy I feel like most of this season that we've always looked back on and are like, it actually may have been Max that deemed it, Mr. Big Shot, Tahaad Pettiford, a freshman as Mr. Big Shot. And what happens here, he comes out and was tremendous in this game. And look just beyond, too, the stats of the points. Like, look further, right? He had 6 rebounds, had 3 assists, got to the free throw line 8 times. I just think he was so good. And he hit a couple of those shots at key points in the game. But, yeah, Pettiford finishes with 23. Baker Mazara with 17. He hit some big baskets, too, there. Denver Jones made some big plays. And, look, I mean, you beat Creighton. Broome only had 8 points, had 12 rebounds, had a couple blocks. Struggled. We thought it could be the case with Kalkbrenner in there. He did his thing. But, yeah, I mean, I thought a great win for Auburn because that was a Creighton team. I know they're a 9 seed. Everybody looked at it that way, but they were playing some really good basketball, their best basketball of the season probably, and I think, well, maybe not their complete best. They had a streak in there. I think they won like 9 or 10 games in a row, but playing some good basketball, and they were going to be a challenge, and Auburn kind of responded after some early issues.
Yeah, I thought the biggest thing was Pettiford, and it wasn't just the shots, the points. It just he handled the ball so well under pressure the last 8-10 minutes. I mean, Creighton would try to trap him. 3 times I counted, and I might have missed some early. He just split a double team. He had about that much room to get in. He got in there. I think once he hit a shot, once he missed a shot, one, I don't remember if he passed it off, but that was a big thing. And I thought Denver Jones, too, was really good for them. There was a sequence in the second half, I want to say 6 or 7 minutes left, and the game was in the balance. It was a 4 to 6 point game. And I think was it the drive and the drop? Well, no, that was later in the game. But he had a sequence where he had like a 2-pointer and a 3-pointer back-to-back, or maybe had a 3-pointer and assisted on a 2. But I just thought, like, those two guys, time and time again, when Auburn needed to play, and the defense you said was key. I think that they were really good, particularly on first shot defense on the other end of the floor late. But I thought on the offensive end, those two really carried them when Chad Baker Mazara couldn't go late because of looked like a a knee to the hip. Maybe it was really painful. It appeared, but yeah. Anyway, to me, Jones and Pettiford were the keys.
Yeah, I love this comment. The lost art of the
Yeah,
mid-range jump shot. Tahaad Pettiford didn't read that chapter
no
because it
kidding.
seemed like every single time, like he's in there just hitting a couple of those, that were just very, very silky smooth. And I mean, that's been his game all year. And I know Bruce Pearl's talked about that. The guy, he just hasn't, for a freshman, shied away from the moment. Again, freshmen, they're going to have ups and downs throughout the course of a season as you adjust to, your first year in college and all that, at this level. But dude, I mean, he was fantastic. Um, he just, yeah, I mean, and we've seen him again in those spots before. I think that was sort of there was some stat I put out there, I feel like going into SEC play, where Pettiford had like his biggest games of the year were all in those like huge games that Auburn had up to that point. And, that theme sort of continued a lot once we got into SEC play, where he would hit big shots and all that. And that's
Yeah,
why I think we did dub him Mr. Big Shot. But yeah, like you go back, what was it, the Duke game, right? Where he played well on the road against Duke, had a big game, against Iowa
was it
State.
Houston?
Houston, that's the one I was forgetting. Yeah, 21
Yeah,
points, 24 minutes. The best player on the floor in that game, I thought. And so a lot of those different games like that, like he was the Purdue game, he was tremendous. And so a lot of those non-conference, and that's why we talk about the schedule too. Once you get to this point, it's like you can sort of look back on that non-conference schedule and realize how important it is because
yeah,
yes, everybody played the grind of the SEC. We know that, but like the non-conference portion, I mean that got them ready for something like this because you saw a different team with a different style, and I think it sort of paid off in that respect. Kind of looking back further
yeah.
into their schedule earlier in the season, I think that's honestly the case. So
No, that's a great point because at the point they went to Houston, it was a weird point in their season. They just had to turn the plane around because dudes got in a fight on the plane, and they go down there. They're playing, the toughest defensive team in the country, either them or Tennessee, year in and year out. Just a blue collar Houston team playing in its backyard, and you have a guy that has a game like that basically wins them the game. That's confidence you can bank the rest of the season, and it shows up on nights like tonight.
yep, no doubt. By the way, $5 super chat to Zach. He's here. Don't worry about being late, Zach. We're always late here. War Eagle Zach says toughened up in the second half. Yeah, that definitely a more focused. And I will say this too. I didn't think Auburn played bad in the first half. I don't know if Spencer said this earlier. Played well in the first half. Didn't think it was that bad. It's just Creighton just hit shots, and sometimes the game's that simple. And we said for a team that wasn't like your vintage Greg McDermott team in terms of 3-point shooting, still we saw them at times this season when they get hot, look out. And we saw that against Louisville. That happened some in Big East play. You go back and look at their numbers as we were studying them a little bit, and yeah, I mean they just made shots, and sometimes that's all there is to this game is just go out and make shots. So, yeah, I think it's a nice win because I think that's a Creighton team, as we said, playing really well. Smoking Rail, he's here, all caps, thanking for the kiss of death from 3 for Creighton. Told you we do our best. We came through on that in this one. Salty Tiger, I think this is an interesting comment because he says no one's beaten the Auburn team from tonight, and that team from tonight looked a lot like, again, the team that was 27-2 before some issues there in the last 4 or 5 games, whatever it was. That looked a lot like the old Auburn team, where faced a little bit of adversity, but said, you know what, we know who we are. We're the number 1 overall seed. We're going to come out. We're going to make plays, and guys stepped up, and that's what we've seen time and time again from them this season. So, yeah, so I agree with you. I think if they're playing like that, I think that was sort of the balanced sort of performance that we talk about. Like, again, just go beyond the scoring here. But I think everyone chipped in a little bit here. Chaney Johnson was just pointed out in the comments. Yeah, 8-8 for Chaney Johnson. Crucial. Only had 1 foul, right? So, like, by him being able to contribute, those kind of things, especially in a rebounding game like this, we knew with the size that the Creighton brought to the table with Kalkbrenner and such, Yeah, I thought it was everyone. Everyone was key in this game. Miles Kelly didn't have his usual Rupp Arena shooting game, but that was okay. Other guys
Yeah.
stepped up, and that's what this team's been all about this season. Is there's always somebody stepping up at the right time, and now it's like, hey, can we play the Sweet 16 game, tomorrow or maybe Monday? Like, let's just go ahead and play this thing since we're back and feeling good. But we'll get a little break before the Tigers get ready for the Wolverines of Michigan.
Yeah, Chad Baker Mazara's hip might need a break. He was clear.
That's true.
It looked to me, that spot on your hip where there's just nothing but bone, and especially that's the case if you're Chad Baker Mazara. It looked to me like he took a knee exactly there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
nothing wrong with a couple of days off for sure.
Yeah.
But that's something to monitor, obviously, as we go forward. By the way, I should know this, but you guys can tell me because I have looked at nothing but just watched this game. When do they play? Is it Thursday or Friday?
I don't know if they've announced it yet.
Well, I know
it's in Atlanta. I know that much.
Doesn't Arkansas play Friday? I'm not sure, but you guys will know in the chat. Again, I just haven't looked at it. So I assume we know already. But yeah, in Atlanta, that's how it plays out. So,
if you want to boil it down on the stat sheet, I think it was this tonight. We talked about Auburn fouling a lot at times. Tonight, they outscored Creighton by 7 points from the free throw line. Creighton only had 13 shots, and I think extra possessions too. 7 turnovers and plus 10 on the glass. That'll win you some games.
Yeah. By the way, it's Friday. Everyone weighing in. Randy and Zach and such. Yeah, it's on Friday. So,
okay.
There we go. So, Auburn, Michigan on Friday. We'll wait the game time and everything. But, yeah, I mean, we knew the glass would be an important part of this. Limiting those second chance opportunities, as we talked about in other games. I feel like we've mentioned over the past couple of days. That's a big key if you want to kind of slow down a team like Creighton, like we said, who can get hot from three, getting a lot of different opportunities. So, I can't say it enough. Like, I just thought this was a very impressive win because of the weight of being the number one overall seed, and everyone had come into this tournament. And then it's like they sort of backed up that thought in game one, where it's like they win by 20, but everybody was pissed off. We talked about the comments from Stephen Pearl and Cardwell, and it's just like no one was happy with that performance in round one. And so how do you respond? You come out, you play a team that just is making everything, and I thought the response in the second half, that's the old Auburn team that we've seen all season long, that maybe we haven't seen as much over the past little bit. But I say that, like, I don't want to go too far with that because we talked about it. I mean, their average loss to this point is against the number 6 team in KenPom, basically. Like, it's just, that's the averages. So, I like that. A little spark in that. By the way, we talk about Auburn. Sam Smith in Rupp Arena about to throw up as his Tennessee Vols.
Sam, don't do that.
Get ready to take the floor here in a little bit against the Bruins of UCLA. So, and how about that? The Trey Donaldson game now set for the Sweet 16. So
that shot he hit late in that one was. By the way, Denver Jones hit one similar degree difficulty tonight too. Yeah, so
he did. Someone asked any early lines yet on this Auburn Michigan game. I'll find it. Trust me, I'll find it. So, curious about that one. And of course, we'll have it previewed on the channel. We'll probably go ahead and put those up Monday or Tuesday. So we'll get those up a couple days.
I would be thinking maybe Auburn 6, 7, 8.
That seems a little high to me, just because Michigan is like you're coming in as your Big Ten champion, and like it's just sort of one of those where I'm like, I'd rather it be lower for Auburn's sake. I wouldn't want a high number, just because I think, again, the Big Ten's having success in this tournament, and I think that's something that may be factored in a little bit looking ahead. So
Ken Palm has got it at 8. That's about what I would have thought, but I think it'll be a little lower because Auburn is not. I mean, not that Auburn's playing badly, but it compared to the rest of the season. I mean, we know the story.
Here it is. I got it for you. I figured this is what it would be. As soon as you said Ken Palm had it at what was it 8?
8. I'm going to guess it's 6.
7.5. That's about what I
Okay.
figured. 7.5 is the number I'm seeing here. By the way, if you were curious too, Texas Tech. Well, I got the day switched. Sorry, Arkansas plays on Thursday. That's what I was getting confused with. Arkansas plays Thursday.
Auburn
Michigan,
would be Thursday
Auburn.
too, right?
No, Auburn
Is
plays
it
Friday.
Is it Friday?
So we got it swapped. Yeah, I kept thinking it was the reverse, but it's
You
actually
would
yeah.
think you would think that they would just keep it on schedule.
Unless DraftKings has it wrong here, by the way. But I'm
Yeah.
looking at DraftKings, and this is what they have. So Texas Tech's a 5.5-point favorite against Arkansas, which is right where you want to be if you're Arkansas. 5.5, that's the number. I like it. So, yeah, but Auburn 7.5 per DraftKings at this moment. So, it's gonna be an interesting game. We'll talk about it, as I said, when we do our preview, but it's gonna be interesting for sure. Yeah, I mean, I think again, it's sort of. I mean, yeah, I'm excited about Auburn now because I think they should be feeling like they got that chip back on their shoulder a little bit. You saw a little bit more of that in the second half. We'd missed that. My guy Dylan Cardwell out there doing just the frozen, just standing still, got the chest out after he made the big play, I think, to put him up 8 or 10, whenever it was. That's how you knew they were back. So.
That dunk was something too. The one that he just kind of rattled in.
Yeah, it did. So,
by the way, tickets as low as $256 in Atlanta for Friday.
Well, that's it.
It's Auburn and Michigan.
Man, Auburn and Atlanta. Wow.
Auburn will bring a ton of people to Atlanta.
That's why you're the number 1 overall seed. Getting to play in Atlanta. Love it. Tremendous. We'll see who's on the, not looking ahead, but we'll see who winds up on the other side of that bracket there. Could be interesting.
Well, let's look to Michigan for just a minute. I know we'll do a preview later in the week, but I mean, that's an unusual matchup. They've got a lot of size inside with 2 7-footers that they'll put on the floor at the same time. Auburn faced a little bit of that tonight with Kalkbrenner. So what are your thoughts on how that is just out of the gate?
Well, I mean, I think, again, to me, Auburn, and I know it doesn't necessarily play out in this game because you had Creighton get a little hot here, but, I mean, the perimeter defense, I think, is still going to be, one of the stories. They've just been so good at that this year. And really, Michigan hasn't shot the ball very well in the past little bit. I look back at I'll pull it up now. Yeah, so they shot 27% from 3 against A&M, 33% against San Diego, and then 27% against Wisconsin. So these are games they all won. Keep that in mind, right? Like, they won all these games. But I think, if you're looking at it from that standpoint, just being able to, again, defend well on the perimeter, but knowing that, like you said, they're going to have the 2 big guys. Anytime you play a roster that has 2 7-footers that, like those guys, I think that's where the fouling from Auburn, to me, is going to be a story here. I really think that's what it comes down to. And we brought that up a lot this season. Like, yeah, Spencer. So basically I'm saying Michigan's not shot the ball well, which means they're going to shoot about 68% from 3. In this game against Auburn, against the top 5 3-point defense. That's usually how it works. But, I think, look, Michigan 7-footers, draw a lot of fouls. I think that's something that you look at maybe. Those 2 things.
Yeah, the other thing, it feels like Janai Broome had an off night. What was the final line? 12 boards.
8 and 12, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they need better from him. He had 14 against Alabama State. I mean, he was really good in the SEC tournament, so there was that.
Yeah. Well, I think that's where, to me, the big men, I mean, it's going to be everybody, right? If Auburn wins, it's going to be the balanced effort we're used to seeing. But if you do look at the big men for Michigan, Big Vlad, and I mean, I'm trying to look and see what the numbers are for Danny Wolf. Yeah, I mean, they both will have some games where they're, shooting 5 or more free throws, sometimes in the double digits. I think Vlad's had a few more of those than Wolf. But, yeah, so I think that's it. Like, you gotta play discipline and keep them off the free throw line. I think that's going to be a big factor. So,
who did you think they used to guard Wolf? Because he is an unusual guy. I mean, he's a 7-footer who'll go out and handle the ball on the perimeter and take you inside if he can.
I mean, it's probably Chaney Johnson, right?
That was my guess. I don't think you want Broom on that.
Well, probably not. But I mean, I'll look at it more.
I
But
mean,
I would
not
assume.
not that Broom isn't like mobile enough to handle it, but it's the whole. Do you want to put your best player in a position where he could, how bigs pick up fouls. It's
Yeah, I
random at
mean,
times.
Cardwell too. I think just in terms of the
Well,
movement, I
yeah,
think that's a good point. I think it's Johnson and Cardwell. I mean, I think that's probably your thing. But yeah, too. I mean, he can do a little bit of. He's got some versatility there, in my opinion.
yeah.
So.
You don't see anybody. I don't think there was anybody in the league like him. Was there? I mean, maybe Big Z to a degree, but they're different. I mean, that's the closest comp I can come up with.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're getting a combination of Chaney Johnson and Dylan Cardwell. There's a couple times tonight I think Cardwell found himself on Ashworth, and Ashworth tried to take it to the
Yeah.
lane, but it didn't work out, I don't think, very well.
Yeah.
Cardwell, he's good at that sort of lateral movement sometimes.
You could tell Ashworth when he took the ball under was very conscious of who was lurking behind there.
Yeah. Yep. So, now look, Vicky, we always talk about it here. I think absolutely Denver Jones' defense is, let's say Auburn makes the Final Four, wins a national championship or something. Like, I think that's going to be one of your top 3 storylines in this tournament will wind up being how'd they get there, who did they play. Denver Jones' defense had a lot to do with whatever happens the rest of the way, because I just think that, again, we talked about the Bruce Pearl quote. We talked about him. It's one of those where I think just the way he defends, he's a game changer on the perimeter for Auburn defensively. So, yeah, crucial to their success the rest of the way.
Well, and here's another thing: was Jemiah Neal had 25, 26 points in the first round.
Mm-hmm.
They held him to half that tonight, 5 of 13 from the field. So, didn't let him go off.
Nope, did not. So, yeah, I mean, Ashford's been playing for a bit. Holly said Ashford looks like he's 35. But I've always liked him. I think he's just kind of your prototypical point guard. Just leader on the court, all those things. Of course, he was really good at Utah State, came over to Creighton. But yeah, he's kind of been about as solid and consistent as it gets throughout his really entire career. If you go back, he was playing from day one at Utah State. So
yeah, really had a lot of fun watching him.
Yeah. So
and Ryan Kalkbrenner too. So
yeah, I mean that Creighton,
they're fun to watch.
Yeah, no doubt. So yeah. All right. So Auburn fans, let us know what you're thinking as you head into the matchup with Michigan. Thoughts on that? Something else to keep in mind, as it was brought up there. There was
Moore got hurt.
Yeah,
didn't play. That was
no
game
more
one.
In that one. Yeah, so that's notable too, as you get a little extra rest here going into next week. So yeah, I mean, so getting the chance to play a little bit later, that can help out too. So, by the way, Sam's giving us the play-by-play. The Tennessee Vols are running out of the tunnel. They're running out of the tunnel. So, the Vols getting ready to take the floor in 7 minutes against the Bruins of UCLA.
Don't die on the Sam.
So, yeah, I mean, this is something else to consider. It's going to be a home game for Auburn. Because, I mean, who else is going to be there, right? It's going to be Auburn, Michigan State, or New Mexico, and Ole Miss or Iowa State, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would be interested to see how well Ole Miss would travel to Atlanta, because I think they've got a big alumni base in Atlanta. So, like, Auburn fans, if you're thinking about getting your tickets and you're a little worried if Ole Miss makes it, those things are just going to go up even more.
Michigan State, well, there will be a lot of Michigan State people there, but I think Auburn's going to be your clear number one.
Well, that's true. Michigan State will travel.
Yeah, if they're there. But if you were to get, like, Iowa State, New Mexico, nothing against Iowa State. I just think that, Auburn's
Iowa
gonna.
State, although Iowa State travels too, man.
No, that's
They
what I
travel
mean.
a
Like,
bunch. Yeah,
if that's your setup, like it's gonna be a
yeah.
clear. And not to knock Michigan or anything, but like Auburn, Iowa State, it'd be a little more spread out. But I just think if you were to get like Iowa State versus New Mexico, again, nothing against New Mexico fans, but
Yeah.
just think you're gonna have a nice little travel for the Tigers in that one. So, by the way, Big Waller Brett watching BYU right now and says, you know what? I think we should just lose tomorrow. I just don't even think we want to play BYU. We said coming in, BYU was playing like a top 5 team in the country, per our friend Bart T. But they got to win this game first. So, I mean, they got to win against Wisconsin. So, yeah. All right, guys. Tennessee about to get started here in a few minutes in the same building. Maybe they have some SEC magic that Auburn had in that one. UCLA, interesting, tough matchup, I think. That's going to be a grinded out game. The way those teams play. Jack, $2 super chat. Trey Donaldson versus Mr. Big Shot. Put that on the marquee in Atlanta next Friday. So, yeah. It's going to be awesome.
We're about
Bits.
Talked out here. Bracket bits, yes.
Well, I mean, we're on our third stream of the day. The fourth stream is TBD, depending on how long this Tennessee-UCLA game lasts. But you guys know, if we don't do it late tonight at midnight, it's because most of you are in bed, and that's the reason why we wouldn't do it tonight. But we would do it early tomorrow morning if that was the decision. But if not, who knows? We'll see how it goes tonight in this game. But Bracket Bids, check them out. Hope you're enjoying the free pick'em contest, the Auction Draft League. Hope you guys are having a lot of fun over there. But yeah, download the Bracket Bids app or visit them at bracketbids.com. Support them. You support us by doing that. So we appreciate you guys supporting our friends at Bracket Bids.
Yeah, thank you for watching our SEC basketball reaction to Auburn's advancement to the Sweet 16. We will have more SEC hoops coverage coming up. God bless you. Stay safe. For Blake Lovell, I'm Chris Lee. We'll see you again soon with more SEC hoops content here at Southeastern 16.